Hey guys, I'm John Setzler. Welcome back to Man Cave Meals. Here we are just before Christmas. I'm running a little bit late this season and getting the prime rib video out, but we're gonna go ahead and do one. I'm gonna fire up the new Weber 26-inch kettle. I've got a new toy for that we're gonna set up for low and slow cooking, and we're gonna do a prime rib, so let's get started. The star of today's show is this 7.5 pound 3-bone bone-in prime rib that I bought from Publix. And at Publix, they go ahead and take the bones off and they strap them back on, which is fine in this case. But what I'm going to do to start with is I'm going to go ahead and take their ties off, because I'm going to take the fat cap off of this guy, and I'm going to just take their straps off, and we're gonna shave off the fat cap from the top here, and then I'm just gonna tie this back up. So I've gone ahead and taken most of the fat cap off the top of that, and I just took some of my own butcher's twine and tied this guy back up. So the next thing I want to do is I'm gonna season this, and what I like to do in this case with something like a prime rib is I like to use a little bit of Worcestershire sauce as a binder, just to moisten the outer surface of this guy a little bit, because we're going to put some of my homemade Man Cave Magic #1 on the outside of this, which is a basic salt, pepper, and garlic seasoning blend. And I will give you the recipe for exactly what I'm using here in this video description, because on this one I've taken my Man Cave Magic #1 and I have added a little bit of extra stuff to it. I've added a little bit of paprika, and I've also added a little bit of ground cumin to this. So I always like to season my meat in advance, and this is going to get to go for an overnight ride in the refrigerator with my seasoning on it, which will give that salt a good chance to start penetrating into this meat before we actually go to the cook. And don't hesitate to put a good bit of salt on here. You've got like I said, we've got a 7.5 pound roast here, so it can take plenty of salt. So at this point, I'm going to get this guy on a pan, on a rack, and we're just going to set that in the refrigerator and let it ride overnight. First thing I want to do here is show you the modification I've made to my Weber 26-inch kettle to set it up for what I think is going to be a better low and slow environment. I'm going to take out the charcoal grate that came with the 26, and I have bought one of the charcoal grates that's used in the 22-inch kettle, so I can set that down lower inside the grill. And this Skyflame kit that I bought consists of a charcoal ring that's a lot like a charcoal ring that would be in a Weber Smoky Mountain, and it comes with this heat shield that sits right on top. So we're going to set this guy up for a low and slow 250-degree cook. While we're getting our charcoal fired up, I've gone ahead and taken this roast back out of the fridge. This guy's been in there overnight, letting that seasoning that we put on it go to work. So the next thing I want to do is we're going to make an herb smear to go on this. I'll give you the ingredients exactly, or close to exact quantities I'm using for this in the video description, but I've just got some mayonnaise, I've got some dried oregano, rosemary, and some thyme out of my garden, some stuff that I grew this summer. And I'm just going to take a fork and I'm going to mix that up, and we're going to use this, we're going to smear this all over the outside of this beautiful prime rib. So I've just gone ahead and I've smeared this all over the outside of this guy, and we're just going to let this sit until we've got our charcoal ready. Okay, I've got some charcoal lit that I'm just going to kind of dump on top of our ring here, and I'm going to spread that out evenly. I've tossed in a few pieces of cherry wood there for some smoke. And I'm gonna need to get that leveled out a bit here where we can set our heat shield in place. I think that's gonna be just about right. I've got way more charcoal in here than I need for this cook, but since this is the first time I've used this piece, I'm gonna go ahead and run it full. So we'll set our heat shield in place. Then I'm gonna set my grill grates right on top of that. And then we're gonna put the star of the show right here. I'm actually just gonna turn this guy this way because I'm gonna use my fireboard today to monitor the internal temp of this while we cook. And I'm going to just probably, I'm gonna slide that off to the right there just a little bit and use my fireboard right here to keep up with the temperature. So we're gonna close this up and I'm gonna monitor the temperature, and I'm gonna adjust my vents as necessary to cook at 350 degrees, or I'm sorry, 250 degrees today. While we've got that prime rib cooking, I want to make a little bit of a horseradish sauce to go with this. So I've started out with some sour cream. I've got some prepared horseradish here that we're going to add to it. And to that, we're going to put in a little Dijon mustard, and I will give you these ingredient quantities. I'll give you these ingredient quantities after I quit knocking stuff off the counter. So these ingredient quantities will be in the video description. I've got a little white wine vinegar there, and we're going to put in a dash of Worcestershire, and to that I've got some freshly chopped chives that are going in there. So I'm just going to take my fork and give this a good mix. And after you give this a good mix, you're going to want to give it a taste and see where you are. If you need more horseradish, you'd want to add it at this point. Some people like to add salt, black pepper to this, but since I'm putting it on a prime rib that's already salted, I'm not going to salt this or add any more black pepper. This is pretty good here. I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm just going to put that back in the fridge till we're ready to use it. Okay guys, we've been going right at about 3 hours and 20 minutes here, and this thing's ready. My internal temperature there is up to 122, which is where I want it, because I'm going to take this off, we're going to foil it, and we're going to rest it for 20 minutes at least before we cut into that thing. But man, that thing looks amazing. I've let this guy rest for about 25 minutes, and I've gone ahead and untied it and taken the bone piece off that was fastened back on. So I'm just going to kind of go down through the middle of this thing, and we're going to have a look at this together. I want you to have a look there. That looks perfect. Man, that is absolutely beautiful. So I'm going to take a slice off of that because I definitely want to taste this guy. This is the first time I've done the mayonnaise smear on a prime rib. I've used butter plenty of times before, but I've not done the mayonnaise. Man, just have a look at that. Okay, I think I'm going to take a little piece off the spinalis out here, and I've also got some of my horseradish sauce there that we made. Give that guy a little dip. Oh man, that is absolutely amazing, guys. This is fantastic. The Weber kettle performed very well. The mayonnaise smear that I made with the herbs is done well. The horseradish sauce is delicious. The Skyflame kit that I bought to use in that kettle to make the indirect cook situation a little nicer, in my opinion, worked extremely well also. So guys, give this a try. Let me know what you think. Until next time, this is John Setzler with Man Cave Meals.